Her name is Lyas Bozel. She thought she had the perfect life. Lisa was named top entrepreneur by Day Spa magazine, and she knows the beauty secrets to the stars. She has received accolades from beauty editors in Vogue, Cosmo, Allure, InStyle, and other magazines for her award-winning Day Spa. Through her seventh sense of intuition, her awareness unearthed realities about her life and unveiled untruths that have been hidden for generations and changed the foundation of her life forever. In that life-changing experience, Lisa defined and refined herself a new life.
I'm Lyas Bozel, and you're watching Inspiration Nation. Susan, thanks for being on my show again.
Thanks for having
I always
me
love
again.
having you as a guest.
I enjoy being here too. Love the subject.
So let's talk about the nest. Define what that is for me.
Oh, it's funny. I'm reading a book right now called The Nest. It's one of the top sellers. I found it. I went to a bookstore recently. I haven't been in years. I love bookstores. And I was drawn to it because I sort of feel like I have a little nest, with my family. I always say mother birds, they always build a nest first before they put babies into it, so I sort of call it the nest. And it's a cute term too.
It is. It's like preparing the home.
Exactly. And, I always say even a mother bird will know to build a nest before she can put her babies in it. And usually the mommy daddy bird, bring the materials together to build the nest, and then they fill it. And the best thing you can do for your children is to raise them having roots and wings. And that's, they're rooted in their home, but you also have to give them the wings to fly away when it's time, because that's what you do, I'd love to keep them forever. I have 3 daughters, but no, that's not good for them. Great for me, but not for them. And actually, it's been good for me because they've sort of all gone away now. And watching them prepare for their own lives, I can sort of relive my life over again through them. Because when you're doing it, I think when you're young and you're doing it and you're building your life, you don't see it right in front of you. But then as you get older, you have the luxury of looking back, sitting back and watching it, happen again before your very eyes. And I think you appreciate it more, you understand it more.
So you have 3 daughters, and they're all grown.
Yes.
Right? They're all adults now.
Yes.
So what is that like? They have their own lives. You want to keep everything intact as a family, and they want to be off creating their own lives. So what do you do?
Well, you have to learn a balance, because you have to sort of redefine as you go along. I think having daughters, having girls is different. I don't have boys, so I don't know, but I do think it's differently. It's different having a son in the family, because you sort of expect the guy to cleave to the wife or girl if he goes on, that way. But I think women are the nurturers, the heart of the home. This sort of their role. And I sort of like those traditional roles. They seem to work for me. So with girls, you sort of always expect them to be with you, and they do have their own lives. And recently I just had this conversation with one of my daughters because, she was making plans, and they didn't include being with her family. And I sort of got my feelings hurt a little, but I thought, why? I mean, she's a grown adult. This is why I raised her, to make these decisions. And I'm not always going to like them or agree with them, but she's, we talked about it, and we just realized, her decisions are always fair. She felt she was doing this great thing by finding a balance, how to separate, when to be with her other friends and boyfriends and family, and then be with her own family. And I mean, I can't split her in two. So we talked about it, and I sort of had an epiphany with her, and realized that I really have no say in her life. I was treating her and acting like, oh, I'm your mother, I've always been able to talk to you and tell you what I want from you, but I realized that does change. and it was a good way. It was a good epiphany to have, because it sort of freed me from thinking, you know, I can make those decisions for her.
Well, I think when you're a parent, I'm not a parent, but I can speak from the standpoint of being a child.
Right.
Your parents always feel like they want to be included in everything because they've been a part of your life for so long.
Yes.
But that independence, it starts to stretch you in a different direction. And I think when you have a good relationship with your parents, they always have a presence in your life. They always have a presence in your decisions because the values were set by your parents. When they're not in a positive space, then you're not going to include them. But as children grow and they become independent, they're always going to include you. Even if you're not there, you're still present because you've helped them to set the values. You want them to be happy and independent.
And we talked about that too, because she even said to me, Mom, just trust that you did the right thing in raising me. Even when I'm not with you, I want to be with you and my family, you know. So I was like, okay, that's good, you know. But I had to trust in myself because that's how I raised her. Just when you come upon these specific situations, we learned. It was a beautiful learning lesson at that moment in time, when we decided this is really very easy. You know, the decision's been made, and I did raise her with a certain set of standards and values and, you know, family traditions that we have, and she had that in mind, you know, but I had to trust in that.
So what happens with this new independence? Like I say, you know, define and refine. So right now you're in that process of redefining your place in your family with your husband and with Bruce and the girls. So it's a positive transition though, right?
Well, it can be. It's a choice. I mean, I think I can see how maybe some people break up over it because you're so focused on your kids. And, you know, Bruce and I always made sure that the reason they're here is because of us. So we always knew that we had to be their family first. So as a couple and a married couple, mom and dad, we were there for them. They were a bonus. It wasn't, and we kept that in mind since, you know, we've been married since 1983. We kept that in mind the whole way through because we knew one day we were going to look up and
be Bruce and Susan.
Yeah, and we wanted to know who each other was. And we really enjoy our kids as adults, so they're more like friends now. And I do miss the times when they were young and little, but as adults, it is a whole different relationship. So there's sort of just an add-on to who we are as a couple now without them. And really it's, you know, they come and go, so we constantly are, they're home, they're not home, and, you know, we're constantly flipping in our minds about how independent are they really. None of them are married yet, so they don't have their own families. I think that makes it easy. That is, once they get married and have their own families, that's when I've told them that is your priority now. Your family of origin is one thing, but the family that you create is where you need to be. It's not really a question about me or dad anymore, you know. But since they're not married, it's sort of like, because they're in their late 20s, early 30s, and they should be, in my opinion.
And I agree. I think the longer you wait,
it's true.
Into your, you know, because you're such a different person in your early 20s, and then you evolve. And I believe that, you know, your 20s are for you to find out what you don't want for the rest of your life. Some people, it's rare, like you, are an exception to the rule because you married Bruce and you've been together forever. But that's rare. That is a gift, because most people, they grow out of each other very early on. And then, you know, the pressure of marriage and responsibility and children, it doesn't last.
Yeah, and I met him when I was 19 and we got married at 23. I know I beat the odds because I'm thinking
tremendously.
Now.
Can you imagine,
you know, this
people you know at 19, 20 getting married?
I would say, no way, don't do it. Are you crazy? You don't even know who you are.
Right.
But it was a timing thing. I mean, I happened to meet him and knew I was going to marry him. And my girls love that story. But they just think it was reserved for me. It doesn't happen, and it's never going to happen to them. And, you know, I don't want them to just get married and settle, you know. And if they never want to get married, that's fine too.
Right.
But I think they do, you know, and as you get older, your clock ticks. There's a reason for that saying. And I think they're thinking now the 20s are over. That's where we build our lives and entering their early 30s. You got to have something to say for your 20s, you know, something. They did all go to school and looking for jobs. I do think it's harder these days. I know every generation says that, but I think really with the technology and the phones, because I don't know how you meet people these days, whether you're a guy, girl, it doesn't matter. I think it's very difficult now because everybody's looking down at their phones. And I'm like, who are you looking at?
You're going to miss Mr. Right as he's walking by you.
I know. I remember dropping my middle daughter, Allison, off at college. She went to UCF, and that day I dropped her off because I'd been there a week with her, but it was her first day of class. And I pulled up and dropped her off, and I saw a plethora of potential husbands there for her, and not one of them looked up. And I'm like, you just missed such a cute little girl walking by. Look up from your phone. And she did the same thing. She just looked down on her phone, and there's these students just passing each other in droves, not one of them looking up. And I thought, that's a sad day. I don't know how I guess you meet them on the phone where you're looking down.
But there's
nothing wrong with that. It's a new thing, but there's an energy when you're with
connected
people, of course.
Because I feel like, you know, when you're on the phone all the time, you're disconnected. You're focused on the phone. You're focused on business or whatever.
You're disconnected from reality, from life. You know,
and it really, you need these skills of interaction to have a relationship with people, because when things aren't going smoothly, you have to have communication. I mean, I have a sister whose boyfriend broke up with her on a text or an email, and I'm like, oh my God,
that used to be the old Dear John letter.
That is so outrageous.
Yeah.
That is so unacceptable. But, you know, it's a new generation, and there's new forms of communication. But I think, you know, emotionally, it's a challenge because you're not connecting emotionally. There's no, you know, visual expressions on the face. Everyone's texting or they're sexting or they're, you know, everything's connected to the phone instead of emotionally to each other.
Exactly. It's very impersonal. And it's just easy to, I know there's this one dating website where you can just swipe, and I thought, you swipe, and I'm like, wait, go back. I thought he was cute.
What are you doing?
And she says you can't. I said, you swiped him forever? He's gone forever? I said, what if they're doing that to you? You know? And she thought, oh, I didn't think about that. But I just thought that's such a throwaway society we've become. And I know young people are aware of it. I know they are. But it's kind of the way things are. I think there will become a balance at some point. You know, I think that I hear young people say they don't mind putting their phones down, or, you know, taking a break from your phone for a week or so, and you really don't miss it. I think there's just no thought there. But I don't understand how you're so connected to whatever's on your phone and not the people around you. And I know the term old school is used a lot, but there is something to be said for that, because it worked. You know, we found people, we found mates, we found friends, we connected with people, and without
the upcoming generation will tell, because we'll see how long marriages last in that culture of disconnection.
Right.
Because it's very much a disconnected culture.
Well, the fact that you can just click off and click on, and so instantaneous. I know even with Facebook now, I just scroll through it so fast. I'll hit like a few times, and that's just not fair. Don't even know what I just did, you know?
Right.
But it's become where I just can't scroll fast enough.
So tell me, what kind of challenges, how is this transition with you and Bruce?
Well, I think that we have to decide that we are together forever, the two of us, and we'll probably have to find things to do together, you know, enjoy each other's company, which we always have. It's kind of like we've been waiting for this, so we're very fortunate in that we love when our kids are around, but we also love being with each other. We have very little in common, really, as a couple. I mean, we have totally different interests, but the few things that we do enjoy together, we're looking forward to that. And I just like him as a person, hanging out with him, being with him. And we sort of just enjoy this time together, but it does take time.
It's an
getting used to
adjustment.
it.
Yeah, I think it's
Yes,
an
you
adjustment
have
for
to
any
adjust.
couple because you've been defined as parents, and now you
Yeah.
have to be defined as individuals who have the commonality of each other.
Right.
And it's no longer focused on the children because the children have been the focal point for so long. And I think that's challenging for any couple who have children.
Yeah, we still have that in common, but not on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
And then they come around and then it's, that same focus again. Because they all do live fairly close, so we see them a lot. Especially when all three of them are together, which is great. Then we feel, because it's just the three of them and us, and it's just like our family how we knew it when they were growing up.
So do you feel like you can relate to your daughters breaking away the independence like when you were younger? Do you feel you did the same thing when your mom was in your position and you were growing up and developing your own life, having children, having a family?
Yeah, I do. I never thought about that, but I look back because I went away to school and I loved my home. I loved being home. So I had a lot of homesickness. My girls are more travelers. They're more, wanting to explore more and get away. And but I think, like I said earlier, with the roots and the wings, your home is always where you're rooted, and it gives you the confidence and the desire to fly, knowing you can always come back home. Even if it's not my home, it's what they've created as their own home. But
So-
yes, becoming independent is, they're already independent now, so it somehow happened, I don't know, overnight maybe, it somehow happened that they just are,
So what kind of advice could you give to couples who are newly in your situation?
I think it has to start, not that it's too late, but I think you have to have that awareness the whole time, all the way through. Bruce and I always knew they were going to be gone, and we did not want to be that couple that looked up and thought, who are you? Do I even know you? Love you anymore? I don't know. I don't want to, have to get to know you all over again. So we always had that awareness. But you can get that, because even though you can say that, we knew that one day this day would come. And it was gradual because we had three. One left, the other one left, and then the other one left. And then kind of the older one came back, and then, so it's sort of always been a transition. It wasn't one fell swoop. They all flew the nest.
Right.
But we sort of knew that would happen, and we were prepared for it, but you may not be prepared for the emotions and the feelings it brings, and what are we going to do? Because we're older too. We're at an age now where we can enjoy the fruits of our labor. We can enjoy all these things and not have to worry about making sure the kids have what they need or want, and put our needs aside. No, it's you can kind of be unselfish.
So have you had a discussion? Have you and Bruce acknowledged this change, this transition?
Yeah, we talked to each other about it.
That's awesome.
That we
'cause I
we
think
made
that's the
it.
first step.
This is what we did all this for. Yeah, it's great. Yeah,
That's wonderful.
We talk about it. In general conversation. Just that here we are together, and we joke about it that we don't really know how to be together, but and we also look forward to what's to come with each other, because we'll never go back. We know we'll never go back to being parents of small children again, raising a family. Those days were done. We felt we enjoyed it. We did it well. And now this is the reward. That's sort of what it's all about.
So it's kind of like a parental menopause. It's an absolute
Oh yeah, I
change
never
of
thought
life.
of it that way. Yeah.
It's a parental menopause because, it's a gradual change, and it's something that is permanent. And in a way, it's a loss, but it's also a gain, because you're just redefining the relationships with adult children.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, it's a little more enjoyable than the menopause, but but there is a lot of emotion involved in it that I don't think people talk about.
And I
You
think
know?
open communication is really key.
Open communication is
change
key
in life,
and
'cause
we're
that's
learning
what it
that.
is.
Yes,
Right.
yes, because we communicate pretty well anyway. It's just sometimes you don't really know what it is that's bothering you, so you'll focus on the wrong thing, and then come full circle. And it always comes back to this is your decisions you're making now are because of everything that you learned and you were taught and the values that you were raised with.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
So some of the changes, though, some of the things during your relationship that you've learned could help you into the adjustment, even if they're not the
Sorry,
traditional
Kitty.
ways of what society has taught us. The things you've learned in your relationship, because every relationship is very individualized. So what we learn in those relationships can help you through this transition, because that's part of the intimacy of having a partner.
Yes, and intimacy is very important because it involves trust and talking about your dreams and your fears and all of that, and knowing that that person is going to be there. Whereas before, you know, we might not have talked about it as much. We sort of maybe slid through it or skated through it, and it just became, you know, you just figured it out. But now you do have more time to talk and discuss things, and you know,
And focus on the quality of your relationship
Right.
together.
and you also, the beauty of it is that you have a history to look back on, you know, and you did it together.
Mm-hmm.
So why, like I said, while you're doing it, you might not realize it, you know, you might not give it so much credit, but looking back, you can sort of pat yourself on the back a little
I
and
did
say,
it right.
oh, we did it. I don't know how, what we did, but we got them to a good place.
So give me one good point of advice for your listeners, people watching you today,
I think
to fulfill that nest.
yes. Just, you know, be aware of the purpose that you have for doing what you do on a daily basis that you might normally take for granted. Know that there is a reward at the end. The end result is why you're doing it. You know, maybe not, it might not be so obvious while you're doing it, but it can be very rewarding. Otherwise, you know, what's the point of doing it?
Right. Well, thank you again for being on my show.
Well, thank you for having me.
I'm Lyas Bozel, and you're watching Inspiration Nation.